month, the South African Police Service draw an extract of the firearm unfit list to us to say the following officers have been captured in their system as unfit to possess a firearm. But that is one of the critical things that is a problem, is that we have even approached SALGA, which is the government, the South African Local Government Association, which is the employer actually, to state to them, can we please, and we already had workshops around this, can we have a separate set of conditions of service for municipal police officers than the rest of council, which is aligned to this, to be similar to, it's not the same because it's two different organizations, but that we have systems and disciplinary agreements that a policeman must not only act in the same manner towards every citizen, but he must also be treated in the same manner at the back end. And that unfortunately doesn't exist.
Thank you, Commissioner. You concluded paragraph 52, basically that all this information was shared with Ms. Kasheka's department as per her instruction. So she and her department became aware of what you have just shared with the Commission. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
You then say this process was subsequently halted and to date no further steps have been taken.
Correct, Commissioners.
I take it when you say meant that it just didn't proceed any further than
correct.
The point at which...
Nothing further happened. We haven't had any meetings further to that effect. Nothing else in the department took place.
Was there any feedback by Ms. Kasheka as the head of HR or her office as regards this vetting process? Was there any formal communication to
There was no further feedback from Kasheka and neither from Lefo, even though on the sidelines I harassed him the whole time and asked him what's happening. There was no further feedback.
And you recall from Chief Mapiyeye's directive of the 21st of December 2022, he had indicated that disciplinary action will be instituted against non-compliance. What did Chief Mapiyeye at this juncture, which we say is around the 6th of March 2024, do when this process was halted, with the results that you have highlighted in both Annexure RS20 and RS21 regarding members who've got criminal records in the system and members who refuse to be vetted? What did the chief do about all this?
Chief Mapiyeye was already under tremendous pressure of being either suspended or placed on special leave. And I don't know if there was nothing that I, as Deputy Chief, ever saw that was ever done against any of these officers who refused to submit their fingerprints, or even the people who had a guilty that was found guilty. There was no further steps taken against any of these officers.
So, yeah, you're suggesting that Chief Mapiyeye could potentially have been under one of his many suspensions at the time?
Correct.
Because we know that he was finally suspended. The latest is the 25th of September 2024. And this is happening around the 6th of March 2024.
Commissioner Mapiyeye was already in August 2023, after Brigadier Makonasi's disciplinary case has been pushed aside and trying to be stalled. There was already incidents where the city manager, Mashazi, actually in front of me, she said to him, I'm suspending you now. So this happened here 18 August 2023 already. So he was already suspended, even though the records will indicate that at a later stage they altered the documents to actually make that he was placed on special leave for 30 days and Makonasi was placed in his position to act. So it was a constant harassment against him, and there was no continuity that anyone do it. But as far as my knowledge is, up to the date when I retired on 28 February, nothing was done against these officers at all. And the process was not started or concluded at all.
And equally so, there was no explanation from the upper echelons of EMPD as to the status of this process or why it is not proceeding. It was never communicated to the divisional heads.
Correct, Commissioner.
Was this, to your knowledge, was this matter ever reported to council?
No, that there were council questions. The process of council work where councillors will, during a council, they will submit written questions. and then the individual departments must answer. So I know that there have been questions from councillors that was raised in council, but because it is an HR-related issue, it was never answered by our department. We saw the questions, but it was always answered by HR. I don't know their answers because I don't see other departments' answers. But from Metro Police, it was because it is HR-related, it was always pushed back towards HR to say, answer this question.
Is it then fair to assume that equally so, you do not know what attitude council adopted on this matter?
No, I don't know
Personally,
the
you
attitude
don't.
of council against this matter.
You conclude then at paragraph 55 to say, to your knowledge, Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi is not vetted, neither has his fingerprints been checked. I guess what we do is to qualify that as at the date of your retirement.
Correct. At
Things
the
could
date
have
of my
happened post your
retirement, he's not been
retirement,
vetted.
Okay.
Commissioner, that conclusion, while it speaks to Brigadier Mkhwanazi, it would be fair from your evidence to say, in fact, his whole specialized services unit that had refused to be vetted as at the time of your departure, to your knowledge, none of them had been vetted.
Correct, Commissioner. For criminal records,
For criminal records.
there's not a single person, except Commissioner Mapiyeye, there's not a single person in the Ekurhuleni Metro Police who has been fully vetted with a classification from either crime intelligence or from the State Security Agency.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloyi. Commissioner Spies, that then takes us to your next heading. You had dealt with the systemic concerns regarding vetting. Do you recall that? Just to verify your paragraphs 53 and 54. You reference your own
Correct, Commissioners.
clearance.
It is, as I stated earlier, is that Commissioner Mkhwanazi, when he was instructed, the three of us were instructed to be fully vetted by, and as I stated earlier, crime intelligence as a division of South African Police Services is the one that was tasked to actually vet us all. But crime intelligence has huge capacity problems. So we then, together with the portfolio committee, was arranged that State Security Agency assist us so that there's two capacities where we can actually do the process. And an arrangement was made at national level through the Chiefs Forum, specifically with state security agencies to assist us to vet all the levels from Chief of Police for all the municipal police services, from Chief of Police to at least brigadier level, at the top management, plus their secretaries and people who have access to sensitive information, because we all attend meetings with the National Police Commissioner, with Parliament, with Prof joints, with NAD joints, and therefore a decision was made that SSA will assist us to get this process rolling. And that instruction was given by Commissioner Mapiyeye to the three of us that we shall ensure that we submit our fingerprints, a pack of forms to do this vetting. There's a very thick pack of forms and documents that you must add it. You must, for instance, add bank records and information like that. And Commissioner Mkhwanazi at that stage, he blatantly refused and says he will not be vetted. He is exempted from being vetted. That is his words that he actually used. He's exempted from being vetted. It's not part of his contract.
Commissioner, yesterday we made very good progress on pronouncing Mkhwanazi. Let's revert to that, please.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner, when you say at that point, Brigadier Mkhwanazi blatantly said that he will not be vetted, is this a different discussion in addition to the big meeting that you had where he walked out?
Correct, Commissioners. The first meeting that we had in the February was dealing with the vetting, and we used the word vetting actually wrongly. It's with a criminal check. So the first one was dealing with a criminal check of all employees, just fingerprints, criminal check. The vetting exercise is when you actually do a full vetting of, it's close to a lifestyle audit, and it's done by crime intelligence or by state security agency, where they verify your interaction with foreign agents, passports, travel out of the country. They have referees that you must provide that they go and check your bank records. All your assets must be declared, and they then verify it. And you even go at the end of all the investigations done by them, you will go for a polygraph test, and only if, I think, obviously if you pass everything, then they will issue a certificate or classification of specific vetting. And it was also decided at the meeting that we will be vetted up to a top secret level, which is only valid for 5 years, where a confidential level is valid for 10 years, to make sure that we have the correct vetting.
And this vetting, do you know if the city manager ever became aware that this was required to be done and that Brigadier Mkhwanazi had refused to do it?
I do not know if there was any communication to the city manager.
Thank you.
But sorry, Commissioners, it is part of vetting is also when you're appointed in the senior manager positions in terms of local government structures, you must also comply with what we call the COCTA aptitude and test, and vetting is part of that as well in that process. So she should have known this process because of, maybe not because of the police angle, but definitely.
Did you say that call, the call he made at a meeting was to the head of HR? When you say he was visibly annoyed, even frothing at the mouth?
No, he made the call directly to the
HR?
city manager.
To the city manager?
He called the city manager, and then
So
when he
the city manager was aware then of the...
It was about the fingerprints checking that his unit and he hasn't been checked.
Okay.
So he made a call about that. It's not about
Okay,
the vetting.
okay.
The vetting came a little bit later when
Okay,
the
all right,
letter
all
was sent to us for full vetting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Spies, and then you conclude that discussion with your own clearance certificate that you say it's valid until the 31st of August 2030, and that will be your annexure to RS22, you confirm?
That's correct, Commissioners.
And this is issued by SSA State Security?
Correct, Commissioners.
We then move to the next topic from page 24, and here you deal with the suspension of Chief Mapiyeye and other irregular appointments within EMPD. Let's start with paragraph 56, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
So, on the 17th of August 2023, early in the morning there were WhatsApps being circulated that Chief Mapiyeye will be suspended. And it's like, people make these comments and remarks the whole time. I just ignore all of that going on, and my officers complaining to me what's happening with this. And then the afternoon, we received an instruction that all the brigadiers and the deputy chiefs must immediately report to the city manager's boardroom in Germiston. Upon arrival, as we started to walk in through where the receptionist stood, as we start to walk in, and this is senior people, this is myself, the deputy chief, the chief of police, and the brigadiers there were, I think it's 8 brigadiers, I will just count them again, but I've listed their names. As we walked in, the VIP protection officers from the city manager who's protecting her confiscated all our cell phones, mobile devices, tablets. In the meeting itself, I actually made notes in my notebook, and I recorded the whole meeting from the notes. I tried to write as fast as possible as individual was speaking, and immediately after the meeting concluded, I left for home, and when I got home, I then typed that whole meeting over from the notebook so that while it's still fresh in my mind, where I can see I used an abbreviation that only I would know, I would actually just expand the abbreviation and type the minutes over. I have attached that photocopies of my notebook as well to say, but I took photos of the specific notebook in case the notebook ever goes missing. Then I have photos of the notebook as well.
And the photocopies of your notebook are attached as RS23, and the transcribed notes typed are RS23 small a, in bracket A. You confirm that?
That's correct.
Now, and starting from page 96 with RS23. The actual notebook from which you took the pictures that now make up annexure RS23, you still have that notebook?
Correct.
Should the commissioners need to satisfy themselves that this is not, you have the actual notebook?
I still have the notebook, and I forwarded this in WhatsApps as well, so there's even proof to date and timestamp this. There's also, as I wrote to my notebook, it starts at 12 o'clock, and when I ended the meeting, it ended at 15:45 at the end of my notebook of this notes.
Okay. Having then confirmed that, I think we shall not subject the commission to your handwriting, so perhaps we turn to Annexure RS 23 bracket A to understand what transpired at that meeting.
The order around the table, and as they are listed, the attendees, it is the order that they sat. I sat with around the table in the boardroom. To my left, and if you see my name is right at the bottom, just before Mrs. Kasheka's name, the city manager sat at the head of the table. And as you go around from her, as I'm facing the boardroom, it was the city manager, then it was Chief Mapiyeye, then it was at that stage Brigadier Mkwanasi, and then Brigadier van der Merwe, Deputy Chief Mazolo, Deputy Chief Twabe, Brigadier Nkosi. It was then on this side of the table was Mr. Letwaba, Director Brigadier Gina, Brigadier Mashlangu, and Brigadier Besaidenhout, and then myself, and then Kasheka from this side. So we sat around the table. The city manager opened it, and she was lambasting the department. She stated that the ammunition tender has been refused because the NEL, at that stage we had an ammunition tender where the only manufacturer of large-scale ammunition in this country was PMP, which is a subsidiary of the NEL, Pretoria Metal Pressing Works, that makes 9mm ammunition. So we had what we call a Section 110, Section 32 process buying transversal from another State Department process. And this failed because she refused to have it done because she stated the NEL is directly involved in state capture and we must go out on an open tender again so that we can do it. And she then stated she appointed Spies, who was me, but there's no changes in the department. This is a year after my appointment. And she carried on lambasting everything, low staff morale. And what is critical about what she's saying and the way she is saying it is that everyone else was then given a chance to speak, except I didn't get a chance. Just before the meeting, Commissioner Mapiyeye spoke to me in the passages as we walked up the stairs. And he said to me, Commissioner Spies, please do not say anything today. Let us just take whatever is said, punishment, whatever is said, and let us go fix it at the back end. Because the city manager is out to get you, don't say anything. So I said to him, Chief, it's fine, I'll keep quiet. I don't want to lambaste anything or bring anything out in the open. We'll fix the department as we go along. So everyone got a chance to vent. But commissioners, when Mkwanasi started to speak, everything that he said was as if he and the city manager had colluded and they were speaking the same speech. And he was making comments about this de facto chiefs, that Chief Mapiyeye is running, is a bad manager and he's not running the department good enough because there's de facto chiefs. And he mentioned that I'm one of the chiefs that runs the department.
Perhaps, apologies, Commissioner Spies, it might be easiest and quickest if we deal with that side of things with reference to the actual transcribed quote-unquote meeting. And for that purpose, I would refer you to page 105. Having listed the attendees and you highlight that the meeting was open, you have at the bottom of that page a recordal of what was stated by JM. And according to your attendees list, you have JM as the director, J.M. Kwanazi.
He was at that stage appointed as the Director of Specialized Services with a brigadier rank.
Okay, perhaps then if you just read that paragraph at the bottom of 105 to about literally the first quarter of 106. Thank you.
Commissioners, if I can just go 2 paragraphs back, because it touches on what later actually happens as well.
Please
It states where the whole punch is through it, is that never before have we opened cases against one another and running to IPID to open cases. She can also play the same game and go to IPID to open cases against us. She can do the very same thing we do. Why are we doing it? It must be stopped. Directors are treated differently. One gets overtime while the others don't. And dealing with investigations criminally. There's way too many labor cases. It's clear that we are leaderless. The department is dysfunctional. And then she addressed Chief Mapiyeye. Mapiyeye, what happened? It's your second term. She addresses the chief directly. And then she asked, who wants to say something? And a group of the officers put their hands up. JM then started to say, CM, he addressed her. He doesn't speak to anyone else. He says, the department is dysfunctional. We don't have a chief of police. I work for government, not using my connections. But in this department, only people who have connections are promoted or listened to. And all the connections are from Benoni. No one else in EMPD, and only they are close to the chief. We have another de facto chief of police, Duplessis, that gives instructions as if he's running the... Also have been arrested and not suspended, and no steps taken against. Then another de facto chief, Spies. I'm not even respecting or saluting him anymore. Said by him is nothing, but he runs the department. Projects, logistics projects never discussed with him or with ops, just to whatever he wishes. Supporting but sit in another land. No talking with ops, who took projects or even precincts. No funds, but before COVID there was funds. He sits at office, 300 people but no space. No toilet, all a mess. Another de facto chief of police, Nisa. He will deal with officers who cannot raise any issues. Cases are open and they do the planning exit strategy. Henny Erasmus are remote controlled by Spies and Mapiyeye. Integrity and standards are hiding in cupboards. Anyone not close will be nailed. I lost respect for them and refused to salute them. Operations, no one is clean in this department. Bricks is coming, nothing is done, no one is signing off. If his name is on it, then no one will sign. Ubaba, burying alive. He went to see Mapiyeye and was forced to sit and wait for 5 hours. As a senior, he had to wait while he was in his office. He only saw him after Deputy Chief Mazolo arrived.
And that those words you attribute to Brigadier Mkhwanazi in the meeting?
Correct.
The meeting then continued, and I see there are different speakers, as your note reflects. Is there anything in particular you'd like to draw the Commission's attention to?
The other speakers had just very, very little to say. They had like 1 or 2 sentences. So Brigadier van der Merwe, for instance, that because she mentioned the ammunition tender, he just submitted to her that we have initiated the tender again and we have submitted already application to supply chain. We're waiting for a contract number. And we have specifications ready. Then she answered him immediately back to say, but your specifications must be changed so that there can be successful bidders. And he answers back to say, but our specifications are as per legislation and are correct, but it will be submitted as soon as we have a contract number. The main portion, and that is linked to previous discussions already, when we procure ammunition, one of the requirements in our tenders is that the supplier who gets the tender must have a dealership license from the South African Police Service, CFR. Because only people who have a dealership license may deal with ammunition. And what has happened is that companies have been appointed in the past where they don't have a dealership license, they become a middleman. So they effectively will buy the ammunition from someone and then sell it to us. And that is illegal because you are then in possession, even if it's just on paper maybe. But the ammunition must be delivered by us in terms of the tender at our offices. And that transfer of the ammunition and moving of it, the company who provides us must comply and be legal. So there was an instruction from her that we must remove that requirement that anyone can provide the ammunition to us. And the answer was, but we cannot. The law says there must be this in it. And that's what Brigadier van der Merwe then answered her back. Mr. Mazolo, just everyone you will see has a very, very little input into it. It was more, there's problems with our structure. The council was busy with a reorganization and the structure was not yet implemented and officers were placed. So a lot of officers were making comments about the structure. Brigadier Nkosi, he is also originating from the so-called Benoni officers. And where this remark comes from is that when the Metro Police were established, or the city of Ekurhuleni was established, it was an amalgamation of 9 existing councils, which is the Benoni, Kempton, Nigel, Boksburg, Brakpan, Springs, Alberton, Germiston, and Edenvale. Those cities were amalgamated into one. And obviously when the Metro Police was started, the traffic officers from those departments were the inauguration members and founding members of the municipal police. And then there's groupings, because officers obviously know one another well, they've been working for years together. So groupings started to happen, that there's a group of officers from Benoni, there's a group of officers from Germiston, or a group from Kempton Park. And the illusion here is that the officers from Benoni are being treated specially. And Brigadier Nkosi is also an ex-Benoni officer. So he started to say, CM, the Benoni employees, that Brigadier Julius Makwana, and immediately she cut him off. Stop, don't speak about what anyone here has said. It's if you want to say anything else. So it's as if the meeting was done so that Julius Makonasi can speak, she can speak, the rest was just there as ad lib for a short paragraph and that. And
before you move ahead, I think we have a sense of who the main drivers of the meeting were. And for whatever reason, others did not or could not speak. I would like to draw your attention to at page 107. There is a conversation there, or there is an input being made by OB, and going back to the list of attendees, you have OB listed as Director O. Bezuidenhout, correct?
Bezuidenhout, correct.
I mean, I tried to read what you have recorded here, and perhaps you are best placed to explain it to us all. It starts at about midway of page 107, where OB says, ma'am, just two things. Disciplinary matters, hearings, outcomes are dismissed by 90%. Then it's going to deal with WOA roadblocks and the like. Would you like to expound on that, please?
The disciplinary matters hearings that he refers there to is that a lot of our officers, the disciplinary hearings take place, but because we are working under the SALGBC SALGA disciplinary hearing process, the chairpersons are not from the Metro Police. They could be from any department. And the officers are treated as if they're normal council employees. And then if the officer committed, for instance, it could be a matter of bribery, where the officer stopped an offender and he took money from him, and then there's a whole disciplinary case that happened, is that the officer it's possible that he would be dismissed by the chairperson, but then that officer will run to the Labour Court and he will be reinstated because HR will not contest the matter and the officer will be reinstated. It also happens when the chairpersons, when an officer, for instance, it's a simple incident that took place during COVID. There was obviously lockdown level 5 and 4 where no one was allowed to travel or move in the country except if you have certificates. And the police were obviously, when we were on duty, we used to work. So at one of our roadblocks, one of our off-duty officers drive into the roadblock. And he was then stopped, and as he was stopped, he jumped out and he ran away and he left the car behind. It was discovered that the vehicle he was traveling in was a stolen vehicle. And subsequently, he was then charged criminally, and he was found guilty for contravening the COVID regulations. The stolen vehicle portion, he wasn't found guilty eventually, because I think there's a challenge with the South African Police Service not cancelling the vehicle when it was recovered, or it was his neighbour's vehicle and he just borrowed it, and that he wasn't found criminally guilty for that. But in his disciplinary hearing, the ruling was that he be docked unpaid for 10 days. And in that unpaid, it included the public holiday as well. So he even got unpaid for a holiday as well. So it's things like that Brigadier Bezuidenhout is addressing, is to say that our officers, the disciplinary process inside is broken because it's not done by us, it's done by HR, and HR appoints presiding and presenting officers, and those doesn't understand the policing environment, where we say if a police officer comes on duty drunk, to us it's extremely serious, because he drives a vehicle, he's in charge of a firearm, he can kill people while he's drunk. But to HR, it's just another employee who is drunk who must go to EAP and be treated completely different. So that is what Okut Bezuidenhout is referring there. The low morale that he's referring to is that there was, for a long period of time, we were not allowed to appoint anyone because of the structure